This one's got experimental nuclear reactors, civil wars, and multi-foot-long parasitic worms. But it's really all about the time one person decided to make a difference. Welcome to American Esoterica. A history class gives you the seltzer water. This is the slight hint of pamplemousse, the essential stuff in between, the personalities, events, and other ephemera that shape our history and culture. I'm Brian Powers. How will you remember him? Despite the protestations that suggest a mixed historical legacy, when one American set out to make his mark, he literally changed the world. First, though, he had to clean up a nuclear catastrophe. It's 1952, and the NRX reactor at Chalk River Laboratories in Ontario, Canada, is about to have a bad day. You don't need to know these next details, but I think they're kind of hilarious, so we're doing it. Welcome to Canadian Esoterica, eh? The reactor had been built in 1947 as the most powerful nuclear reactor in the world then in existence, a joint project between Canada, Britain, and the United States. One Friday in early December, human error compounds human error, and things get very, very wrong. For one thing, one operator mistakes the position of some valves and changes them manually, as you do, causing some control rods to rise out of the reactor core. Control rods are the rods that you use to stop or slow a fission reaction. Think of them like brakes on a car, thus, control rods. This genius causes the reactor to begin reacting, more, which sets off alarms and brings us to the problem of the 4 buttons. The boss in the control room sees the alarms going off and calls down to his assistant to mash 2 of the 4 big buttons in the control room that control the reactor. He tells the assistant to press buttons 1 and 4. Assistant knows there's no time to waste, drops the phone to run to the buttons and mashes buttons 1 and 4, not hearing the frantic yelling from the boss correcting himself to no, buttons 3 and 4, because button 1 pulls 4 more control rods out. So if Mr. I'll just fix these valves in the wrong position accidentally took the brakes off the reactor a little, Captain, whoops, I meant 3, not 1, eh? Has his assistant pull the brakes off the reactor a lot, and power begins doubling to the reactor every 2 seconds. They have officially lost control of the reactor, which begins the world's very first nuclear meltdown. It lasts for 62 seconds, but the damage is done. The reactor needs to be cleaned and repaired, and God knows Canada can't do it, so the United States Navy, which had been developing nuclear power for ships and submarines, steps up to the plate, sending in a 28-year-old lieutenant who was being groomed as an engineering officer aboard the second nuclear sub in existence. The cleanup mission would be dangerous. The amount of radiation means that no single person could be in the room longer than 90 seconds. The 12-member team, under the lieutenant's command, builds a mock-up of the damaged area on a local tennis court so they can practice the repair. When the time comes, sailors are lowered into the room, perform one task, and then they're hoisted back out. Lieutenant himself takes part in the repairs, and for weeks afterward, his pee is radioactive. They're told there will be a toll. None of them are likely to have children because of the exposure to radiation, but they've achieved the impossible. Under the lieutenant's command, they've succeeded in cleaning up after a nuclear meltdown. It's 1986, and the founder of a new charitable foundation is approached by former colleagues about a horrifying parasite known as the guinea pig. No, sorry, that's worm. Worm, not pig, guinea worm. Okay. Which you get by drinking water contaminated with the worm's larvae, which then spend the next year, give or take, growing inside you up to several feet in length. They then cause a blister to form on your skin where they pop out like a xenomorph to release their larvae while they stay comfortably stuck inside you. There is no vaccine and no medicine. The only way to treat them is to pull them out slowly, wrapping them around a stick as you do so, as to not break off a few feet of dead worm inside you. But real quickly, imagine doing that with a guinea pig. It isn't fatal, but it's very, very painful and debilitating and can cause deformities and destroy joints. Our new foundation founder feels fervently for the farmers and folks afflicted with the fleshy freeloader and affirms the foundation's fight for freedom from the guinea worm. He devotes not just the money from the foundation, but his own time and talents as well to ending the yearly 3.5 million infections. He tours afflicted areas, and with him come the eyes of the world and much needed attention, which only fuels his mission further. It's 1995, and a raging civil war in Sudan threatens his entire operation there. There's a major outbreak, but his workers can't reach the places they need to safely. What does the man do? He steps in and uses his extraordinary talent for diplomacy to personally negotiate a humanitarian ceasefire, the longest in history, that would serve as a model to mitigate civilian harm and future conflicts. It's 2023, and his foundation has become so good at its mission that there are only 14 reported cases of guinea worm. The organization uses the same techniques to apply to other diseases, and by this time, at least 22 other countries have eliminated at least one disease within their borders. As he lays bedridden at home in hospice care, the founder still requires reports on the mission's progress. His devotion to easing the suffering of others and the elimination of a global disease for only the second time in history, as well as his role in cleaning up the very first nuclear meltdown, or negotiating a humanitarian ceasefire in Sudan, or bringing Egypt and Israel to agreement under the Camp David Accords, or all the houses built through Habitat for Humanity and more, will still be just footnotes because of the lone term of his presidency. And here you thought Jimmy Carter was just a peanut farmer. This has been American Esoterica. All sounds were made by me, Brian Powers. Did I get it wrong? Did I get it right? Just want to talk about weird presidential brothers? Drop me a note. The address is yell@americanesoterica.com. More information on this show and its episodes can be found at americanesoterica.com. Thank you for listening. God bless America. And to the late President James Earl Carter Jr., fair winds and following seas.